a little something more. I've got a plan in mind, a special thing in store. The light bulb inside my head says, get out and play, 'cause you never feel this way. It's my lucky day, it's my lucky day. It's my lucky day, my lucky day. Don't need a pot of gold, a rabbit's foot or to be told. It's my lucky day, it's my lucky day.
Hello, friends. It is so nice to see you. I'm so glad you are here. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday evening. It's 8 o'clock here on the East Coast. You can see it's dark outside already. We are like this close, I feel like, to having it be light out at this time of day. And won't that be nice? I'm just thinking about how beautiful it'll be to come home from work and not want to put my pajamas on right away. And yes, I am wearing my pajamas on the bottom. These are my Old Navy Christmas pajamas from a couple of years ago. Actually, I think they might be my daughter's pajamas because we had a mix up in the laundry and I don't think we ever bothered to switch them back. So Carrie's here. Hi, Carrie. So good to see you. And we've got Chastity here. Yes, please drop a note in the comments. Let me know you're here. I love this. Tamara's here. She says, good evening, everyone. Mary is here saying, hey, awesome. So good to see all of you. Carrie says she loves the frame on the screen. Thank you. Yeah, these are Cosmos. So something you may not know about me, some of you may know, is that I am a master gardener. It was my pandemic project a couple of years ago. I've always grown something. I grew up with a dad who has the greenest thumb of anyone I know. You give him any kind of seed, he can make it grow. He's amazing. And as a kid, I hated it. I hated dirt and bugs and sweat and anything to do with the outside or with gardens. And I swore when I grew up, I would never, ever have a garden. And here I am years and years later as a master gardener getting to help my dad with his garden, which is really cool. So when I was putting this show together a few weeks ago, Carrie, I was like, what can I bring in that could show a little something about me that folks wouldn't know? So thank you for mentioning that, Carrie. We've got Lisa Marie here. So happy you're here. We've got Lakeisha. I hope I'm saying that right. So glad you are here. Yeah, you know what? We all have these things that we think just are like, and yeah, they're amazing to other people. Yeah, I do love my story though about being a master gardener. It's really fun. Yeah, and Dr. Alex says, good evening from Ohio. Happy that you're here. My grandmother was born in Ohio. Fun fact, I've never been there, but I hear... No, I don't think I've ever heard anything about Ohio. I was going to say, I hear it's nice, but I'm not really sure I've ever heard anything about Ohio. Let's see, Gabe is here. So yes, continue to chat in the comments. Lisa Marie loves gardening. Awesome. Are you a vegetable gardener or a plant, like a flower gardener? Would love to know. And while we're settling all in, I would love to know, maybe put a comment in the chat, what can you celebrate today? What is it that's going well in your life? What surprises came to you today that were wonderful? What can you celebrate? I'll give you a minute to think. And I'll tell you, I'm celebrating the fact that I was not chosen for jury duty yesterday. I reported in for jury duty, and this is the third time I've reported in. The first time we got dismissed, or they settled the case before we went into the courtroom. The time after that, we got to go in the courtroom, hear about the case, And then they just never got to me. So they finally told me that I could go. I didn't. They wouldn't get to me, and they dismissed me, which is great. This time, I got into the courtroom. I got into, or they put me through voir dire. Is that the word? Whatever. The process where they question you to see if you'd be a good juror. The answer is, for this case, I would have been a terrible juror. It was a criminal case, an 8-day criminal case. That would have been a little too intense for me. And I think they knew it. So they said, no, thank you, which is totally fine. But I was telling my coworkers today that interviewing for jury duty is like interviewing for a job that you don't want, but you feel like you should have, or you feel like you at least like want to do your best. Yeah, it was a really weird feeling that I had when they said no, thank you. Like I was equal parts, like thrilled that they didn't choose me, and a little like, I don't know, sad maybe, like I wasn't wanted. Anyways, Mary says, Adobe is doing awesome new stuff. Cool. I'll have to check it out. Lisa Marie says plants for sure, wants to try veggies. Yes, there is nothing better than being able to go outside and pick your dinner. I love that. Lisa Marie is celebrating getting back in the studio. Awesome. Oh, that's beautiful. And then Carrie says, celebrating that she could shower and do her hair in the middle of a workday. There was a time when that could never happen. Yes, that is like the coolest, best thing, is to be able to just, I don't know, roll into your day and shower when you get to it. I have the luxury of working from home 3 days a week. And when I can sneak a lunchtime workout in and a shower before my afternoon meetings, I really know I'm doing things right. So glad you could have that lifestyle, Carrie, and so glad you could celebrate it. Well, my friends, we are here tonight to talk about some of the myths about journaling. And I always say it's really funny. I could ask 100 people what journaling is and get 100 different answers, because we all think we know what journaling is. And I will say, by and large, myself included, we have way too limited a scope of what journaling is and what it can be. So, what I wanted to do today is um, really take some of these myths that I hear all the time and just go through them and bust them. So I'd love to hear your thoughts as we go through. But here's the first one. Let me know if you've ever heard this one. Oh, journaling is just for girls. Just for girls. And I've heard this from all kinds of people, men and women, because sometimes when we think journaling, some people think of diaries, right? And when you think of a diary, who do you think of? You think probably of angsty teenage me is what I sometimes think of. A teenage girl opening her little locked diary and writing all of her feelings and writing about her crushes and, all of her love and angst and all of that in her journal. And while that is a form of journaling, that is not what journaling is or needs to be. Um, and I think it's really wonderful how journaling is for everybody. It's for girls, it's for boys, it's for men, it's for women, it's for folks who are old, it's for folks that are young. Oh, Paul, so glad you are here. Thank you. But yeah, so journaling is for everybody, and it is the coolest, best thing because no matter how we choose to do it, we each can have a journaling practice that feels really good to us. So, journaling is for everybody. Um, the next journaling myth is that journaling is only for writers, or even worse, journaling is only for good writers. If this was true, there would be a whole bunch of us not not journaling. Journaling is for everybody. And the cool part is that journaling makes us better writers. Journaling helps us be better communicators in general. So, if you want to improve your writing, the best way to do it is to start writing. And journaling is the best place to do that because there aren't eyes on you, right? In my journal, I am the only one who sees it. I'm the only one who reads what I put on the page. And sometimes actually, I don't actually read what I put on the page. I just write it, write it to get it out there. But journaling is, you don't have to have a particular skill level to journal. You just have to have the desire to do it. Little kids who can't write yet can still journal. Think of your, little kids that you know. Can you put a crayon in their hands and have them draw a picture? Probably. That can be a form of journaling. Gabe says he's been journaling on and off since 17, loves writing and sharing thoughts, ideas, and plans. Yes, I love this. Thank you for sharing, Gabe. So great. Um, Paul says, my mentor told me the best way to deal with negativity is write and read them out. Your problems will seem so small on the paper than in your head. Yes, I always say there is just enough room between, or just enough distance between our brains and the page to get the perspective that we need. So that is a fabulous, fabulous way to really get it out and put things in perspective. Kimberly says, I love a free write for helping myself and others reflect. Yes. Free writing, for anyone here who's listening who doesn't know, is sometimes called stream of consciousness writing, sometimes brain dumping. It's literally writing whatever comes to mind. Put your pen on the page and just see what comes out. I always tell people, it's really fun to see what comes out, because sometimes we think we know what we'll see on the page, and sometimes it is a complete surprise. So it's just fun to see where it goes. So journaling makes us better writers. This one is a big one. Journaling has to look a certain way, right? We hear in our heads of what journaling could be, or we see somebody who's, I don't know, somebody on Instagram or social media, or me even, people think, oh, this is how that person journals. That must be the right way to do it. Here's the thing. That's not true. Because I talk to people all the time who say to me, well, I've tried journaling and it just doesn't work for me. And so I ask, what exactly were you doing? What did you try? And they'll describe what they did and how it didn't work for them. And what is really interesting is people who have this idea that journaling should look a certain way, when that doesn't work, many times I hear them say things like, oh, I must be doing it wrong. There must be something wrong with me. I think of Tim Ferriss and the 5-minute journal. The 5-minute journal, for anyone who's seen it or used it, is a journal that is very structured. Every morning, there's a space to write 3 things you're grateful for, 3 things that would make today great, and an affirmation. And then in the evening, you go back and circle back, and it's I don't know, some short reflection on the day. I've never done the 5-minute journal, but I know people who are like, I've tried to journal that way and it is so boring, right? So if that doesn't work for you, cool, find a different way. There's nothing wrong with you if a particular way you try to journal just doesn't resonate. It just means that doesn't resonate. So journaling doesn't have to look one particular way, and it doesn't have to look the same from day to day. Some days I wake up and I might need to lean really heavily into gratitude. Other days I just really want to do a lot of stream of consciousness writing. I have all this stuff rattling around in my brains and I need to shake it out onto the page. And other days I need a really structured format for my journaling. And some days I need to just make lists of all the things that are in my head that I want to remember. And other days I have memories that I want to capture. And I think it's so amazing that a robust and flexible journaling practice can help us take care of all of those things and more. I think it's like the coolest, best thing, that journaling can really look like whatever we want it to look like. This is one I hear all the time. Oh, I can't I can't journal because I have messy handwriting and I'm a terrible speller, or some variation of this. It might be, um, ooh, journaling by hand is really hard for me because I write too slow and I can't read my handwriting when I'm done. Right? Anyone here like ever have that thought? Because I hear it seriously all the time. Um, so I always love to say our journals don't judge. And this is the coolest, best part about having a journal is it is a safe place to put all of our thoughts. Our journal is not going to grade us, right? This is not fourth grade language arts class, right? Where you're learning structure of proper writing. This is a time when you can just lay it all out on the page, and your ideas, um, the quality of your ideas, your sentence structure, your grammar, your spelling, your handwriting, none of that counts. You're not getting graded. Your journal is not judging you. So you can just go ahead and take a deep breath, relax a little bit, lower your shoulders, um, and just write, and don't worry about it, right? Give yourself permission to let your practice be whatever it is. If you are somebody who's like, no way, I'm never going to write by hand, cool. Well, you could type it, right? Find an app that you like, use a word processor, find a way to do it. If you are somebody who writing doesn't come well to you or easily to you, but you can talk all day long, cool. Make a video journal, do an audio journal, talk into your notes, right? Find some way to do it that feels good to you. We've got LinkedIn user. I'm not sure who you are today, but says has helped me gain clarity in dealing with my negativity and problems. Yes, yes, yes. Journaling is so good for all of that. And there are ways to journal that really help. It's interesting. I am by nature just wired to be a highly anxious, negative person. And anybody who's met me in the last 5 years or so has been so surprised to hear it. But I had an emotional intelligence assessment done last year. And I was talking to the coach who was debriefing me on it. And she said, "Oh, I'm like, I was so surprised to see this, but really, you rewired your brain through journaling. Like you really have been, making new neurological connections because of the way you've been journaling, which is a really, really cool um, thing that, when I feel like giving myself a pat on the back, I totally think that is worth celebrating. Getting to make our brains stronger and more positive just through the simple act of journaling has been amazing. How about this one? Does anyone here ever feel pressure to say something profound every time you journal? Or that you have to make some deep, amazing discovery, or that you have to like really do good work every time you journal? Because I hear this all the time too. And I will tell you, as someone who has journaled most of my life at this point, I started journaling when I was an angsty teenager. Um, and I've journaled off and on to some degree since then. I will say not every day is deep and profound and full of magical discovery. Some days are, and those days are wonderful, and some days just aren't. I have some days when I sit down with my journal and I can write 3, 4, 5 pages easily, and the words flow and the ideas flow, and my spelling is great, and my handwriting is just beautiful, and it feels really good. And then I have days where I sit down and I cannot pull two coherent sentences out of my head and string them together. I might just sit and sit and sit and nothing comes to me. I have some days where it just feels kind of yucky. And you know what? That's okay. I call those my sticky days. And the best thing I can do on those days is give myself a whole lot of grace because I showed up. And that is really what counts because we don't get amazing answers every day. But by showing up over and over and over again, it makes us available for when those answers are ready. are ready to find us and when we're ready to hear them. So we do not have to find something profound to dig up every time. It's cool when you do, but not every day has to be like that. Some days can just be a feel good talk about the weather day. In fact, I was telling someone not long ago, if you don't know what to write about in your journal, start with breakfast, right? Start by talking about what you ate for breakfast. Maybe this morning you made some oatmeal, right? How did you make your oatmeal? Describe it. Start with the nuts and bolts of how you made your oatmeal, and then describe the qualities, right? Describe how it makes you feel when you eat your oatmeal. Does it make you feel warm and cozy? Well, what else makes you feel warm and cozy? And from there, just like an easy segue into really anything else. All right, Paul's got a question here in the chat. Do I write gratitude every day? Just about. So my journaling practice, uh, it includes some stream of consciousness writing. It includes some gratitude practice, and it includes some intention setting. That's the best way to put it. So I may sometimes do a separate gratitude practice, but if not, I will weave my gratitude into my free writing. So, but I always love to really focus on the good things that are in my life, because we see what we look for, right? Or we look for what we see. No, we see what we look for. So when I look for the good, that's what I see in my life. I think one of the most transformational lessons in both life and business is less is more. Yeah. 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 We can't, I mean, I guess in theory, we could have a profound discovery every day, but I think that would probably be really exhausting. So some days it's nice to just get to be. Sort of like talking to a really good friend, right? Like some days you have really deep conversations, and sometimes you just swap stories and talk about things that you did and, things that you want. It doesn't have to be deep all the time. And just like that, let's talk about this one. I have to write about my feelings in my journal. Is anyone here like super squishy when it comes to feelings? Like you maybe don't want to talk about them, or you don't want to like admit that you have feelings, or maybe it's not you, maybe it's somebody you know. Um, it is totally possible to have a satisfying journaling practice without talking about your feelings, depending on what your goals are. I always tell folks I work with to start with the end in mind. What do you want your journaling to do for you? If you want to use journaling to be more productive and more efficient at work, let's say, you could do all of that just about without any deep dive into your feelings, right? But if you are somebody who um, wants to get to know yourself better, if you want to find clarity and direction in your life, to know what the next big step for you is, it's probably going to involve your feelings. But again, if it feels squishy and awful and uncomfortable for you, you don't need to do it. Let's see. Paul says, that's a unique structure. I always start with gratitude. So I was curious about your practice. Yeah. And you know what, Paul, my practice looks a little different every day. Most of it I do in my journal. This is the journal I'm using these days. But I also have this one sheeter that I use. I was just getting it prepped for tomorrow. It's got my schedule, my quick to-do list, and then 6 questions I ask myself every morning to really set my tone for the day. And this has been a practice that I've really loved. That's taken a while to really frame up, but it feels really good to me these days. And when it stops feeling good to me, I'll just switch it up and find something else. Hey, Tim, so glad you are here. And Val, I'm so glad you're here. What do you want your journaling to do for you? Powerful question to ask and a great way to find direction. Yeah, and I think this is where a lot of people get kind of stuck, because they think, oh, this is the way people told me to journal, so I have to journal this way. But if your goal is to get here and you're taking a road that's going to get you there, right? It's like if you want to go from New York to Boston, you have to travel east. If you hop on the highway going west, you're never going to get to Boston. Um, Maybe you'll end up in Chicago. That could be a cool place, and a great place to visit, but it's not the same as going to Boston. So it's really important to know where you want to go so you can craft a practice that feels really good to you. Okay. I hear some variation of this all the time. I need the right tools in order to journal. I need a really beautiful journal. I need a special pen. Oftentimes it sounds like I will start journaling when I find the perfect journal. Okay, here's what happens for most of those people. They think, I found the perfect journal and I love it. And I'm scared to write in it because I'm afraid I'm going to ruin it. Anyone here ever think like that? Or know anybody who does? I hear all of the time. I see it all of the time. I've done it myself. So, my rule for myself is to use tools that are just nice enough. This is the journal I've been using this year. It's hardcover. I like it because it lays flat, because I journal usually on my lap on the couch. The lines are pretty thinly ruled and the paper is pretty smooth. Those those are the boxes that my journal needs to check. And this one, it's got this nice closure thing. It's got a ribbon. Cost me less than $8 at Walmart. It's not fancy, but it gets the job done. I'm also currently using an extra fine point gel pen. This is a Sharpie S Gel, a 0.5 millimeter pen. Feels really good, and I only use it for journaling. I don't use it for notes. I don't use it for work. I just use it for journaling. So having a pen and a journal that are just nice enough and special enough that I only use for this feel really good to me. But I know lots of people who have really great journaling practices and they use a composition notebook or a spiral bound notebook, or they use the back of envelopes, right? And then just throw them away when they're done. Yeah. Oh, the excuses we use. Yep. There's always an excuse if we let there be an excuse. Let's see. What time of day do I journal? Ooh, does it have to be the same time every day? Great, great question. I personally journal in the morning because that's when it works best for me. The best time for you to journal is going to be the time that works best for you, which is the time you're going to do it. The time you're going to do it is the best time for you. So, a lot of people, it's in the evening, right before bed. Some people, it's at lunchtime. I know some folks who pair it with their morning meditation or yoga. But just find a time that works for you. Do you have to journal every day? No. I journal every day because I need it. But there are lots of people I know who get all the benefits from journaling with a consistent journaling practice, and consistent doesn't have to mean every day. For some people, it could be 3 times a week. For some people, it could be once a week, right? So find a time of day that works best for you, and then find a consistency that works best for you. Um, yeah, so let's go to this one. If I can't journal consistently or perfectly, it's not worth doing. Okay. This is a super huge one. Journaling, uh, journaling is helpful whenever, however you do it. I've had times when I was a less consistent journaler where I would pull out journaling when I needed it and it would make me feel better. So even just having a one-off journaling practice could be really beneficial. Again, depending on what your goals for journaling are. Um, I say here too, um, kind of what we said earlier about having a certain kind of handwriting in your journaling, about how your journal doesn't judge. Your journal is also not sitting there with a roll book, marking your attendance. Your journal is not keeping track of how long it's been. So if it's been a day or a week or 6 weeks and 4 days or however long, just jump right back in. I, when I was an inconsistent journaler, would start journal entries every time, something like this. It's been 6 weeks and 4 days since the last time I journaled. And guess what? that made me not want to journal. Starting from that place of guilt and shame and a practice that was supposed to be nourishing and helpful to me wasn't helpful to me at all. So, really, just letting it go, jumping back in, and claiming the benefits of journaling right away instead of punishing myself for not journaling is the best thing we can do. Let's pop back over here. Paul's got a suggestion. If it's important, have it be a non negotiable. Yeah, that way you make sure you get it done regardless of the timing because life happens. Absolutely. Um, if you are looking to find a way to incorporate journaling in your life and to make it a habit, what can you pair it with? Can you pair it with your morning coffee? Can you pair it with brushing your teeth at night? Right? Do one and then the other. Can you do it right after you exercise or meditate or journal or do yoga? Like, what is it that thing that's going to trigger you to remember to journal? Right, that's one. And yeah, like Paul said, make it a non-negotiable. Schedule it in, put it in your calendar, set a reminder on your phone, have your watch beep when it's time to journal. Whatever those cues are that you need in order to make sure your practice happens, do it. There is no shame in needing to set a reminder or put things in your calendar. I've got a kid here at home. He's 20. He does not believe in using his calendar because his brain is just going to remember. I remember when I was young and had a really good brain, and now I like to do my brain a favor and write things down so I'll remember, right? Putting this kind of thing in my calendar to make sure I remember and I get to it and I value it. Is really important. Yeah, pairing journaling with something else. James Clear calls it habit stacking. And if you have not read Atomic Habits, that's a really good book to read. That'll help you really understand what journal or what journaling is, how to create new habits and strengthen the habits you have. And with that, folks, we are getting really close to the end of time. So I want to tell you about a couple of things. Anyone who's listening, tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, I am holding a free journaling mini retreat. Anyone who's interested in taking an hour out of your evening or day, depending on what time zone you're in, to come and journal with a nice group of folks. We have a seat for you. So you can register here, amandastern.as.me/retreat. I would love to see you there. It's really fun. And we're going to be talking tomorrow about what we want and what's standing in our way and how we're going to get there. So it should be a really fun session. Really excited about that. And anybody who is looking for some journaling inspiration, some how-tos, some ideas of how you can keep your journaling practice interesting and fun, some journal prompts. I do have a newsletter. You can subscribe to it at goodthingscometothosewhojournal.com. Comes out every Monday morning. 7:35 a.m. Eastern Time. I give you some kind of article that I've written for you, some corresponding journal prompts, a cool journaling idea, and sometimes some other things. So if that is right up your alley, you can find it at Good Things Come to Those Who Journal. We got a question here. Journaling online versus paper, what's your preference? My preference for me is journaling by hand, just because I do so much on a device. It's nice to have something where I don't have to look at a screen. But I know lots and lots of people who have really satisfying journaling practices, and they do it on a computer or on an app of some kind. So the best way to journal is the way you're going to do it. That is the best way for you. And Paul, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Everyone, I am so glad you were here. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you'll stay tuned for next week. We'll talk more journaling next week, Tuesday night, 8:00 Eastern Time. And my friends, I will see you then. Have a good night.